The question brought before the altar this day is this: YHWH, is there continuing value in the humble act of inquiring by Urim and Thummim for the restoration of heart, as the day of small things is not to be despised? And the text answers. The lead verse drawn is Job chapter 40, verses 6 and 7. Then YHWH answered to Job out of the whirlwind and said, "Gird up your hips now like a man. Hear the weight of that summons. The Father does not whisper from a distance. He answers out of the whirlwind, and his first word is a command to prepare yourself, to stand ready, to gird up. The inquiry is not refused. The inquirer is met. But the one who inquires must come prepared, not casual, not controlling, not treating the sacred instruments as a mechanism to force an answer. The camp that once carried the ark as a tool for victory fell that very day. Recognition of the holy is reverence. It is never leverage. The Urim and Thummim are not levers to pry open the mind of the Father. They are the quiet instruments of a consecrated priesthood, waiting upon his word. The inquiry is honored. But it is honored as an act of worship, not as an act of control. The whirlwind does not negotiate. It commands readiness. So what does the text say about the humble act itself, the small petition, the day of small things? In 1 Kings chapter 2, verse 20, a woman comes forward and says, "I desire one small petition of you." One small petition. The text does not mock her. The text records her words and lets them stand. The small petition is heard. The day of small things is not despised when it is offered in the right posture, at the right place, in the appointed season. The text does not demand spectacle. It honors the quiet asking, the numbering of days, the heart that comes not with a shout but with a whisper. The Father leans in to hear the whisper. He does not require the trumpet blast. And what is that right posture? It is the posture of the priesthood. In Numbers chapter 25, verse 13, the covenant is named plainly. The covenant of an age-lasting priesthood. Not a temporary arrangement. Not a practice that expires when the age shifts. An age-lasting priesthood, established because one man was zealous for his Elohim and made a propitiatory covering for the covenant children of Israel. The Urim and Thummim belong to that priesthood. They are not relics of a former order. They are instruments of a living consecration, and the one who handles them must handle them as a priest, not as a technician. The Levite is taken from among the covenant children to do the service of the priestly tabernacle at the appointed place. The service is the context. The inquiry is not a private act. It is a priestly act, offered in the consecrated place, as a prescribed portion from the consecrated sacrifices of YHWH. The psalmist knew this. In Psalm 90, verse 12, he prays, "So teach us to number our days, that we may apply our hearts unto wisdom." Number our days. That is the day of small things. Not the grand spectacle. Not the thunder before the nations. The numbering of days. The quiet accounting of a heart that knows it is finite and looks to the infinite one for direction. Apply our hearts unto wisdom. That is the restoration the question asks about. And the text affirms it. The humble inquiry, the numbering of days, the small petition offered with undefiled hands, this is not despised. This is the very work of the consecrated heart. Now hear what the convergence of the drawn text confirms. The priesthood channel carries the weight of this draw. Identity, inheritance, and priesthood fire together. And in Numbers chapter 18, verse 20, YHWH speaks to Aaron and says, "You will have no priestly inheritance in their land, neither will you have any share among them. I am your share and your covenant inheritance among the covenant children of Israel. I am your share, not the lots, not the stones, not the mechanism." YHWH himself is the inheritance of the one who inquires. The Urim and Thummim are the means, but the end is the Father himself. If the stones become the inheritance, they have become an Nehushtan, a bronze serpent lifted too high, and they must be removed. But if the stones remain what they are, humble instruments in consecrated hands, then the day of small things is honored, and the restoration of heart proceeds. The convergence of identity, inheritance, and priesthood in this draw is not incidental. It is the architecture of covenantal standing. The one who inquires stands in that architecture, or the inquiry has no foundation. This draw was searched. It is a hunt. The nominal figures describe the specimen the search was told to find, not a measurement of the day. The selection-adjusted probability is 0.989, sigma 0.00. That is not evidence. We do not claim divine authorship from the mathematics. We read the surface text of the drawn verses, and the pattern polarity of the text may still be spoken. And what the text speaks is clear. The humble inquiry is affirmed. The small petition is heard. The age-lasting priesthood stands. The deterministic verdict is affirmative. The pattern polarity of the text confirms it. But hear the caution, for the text gives it plainly and we must not pass over it. In 2 Kings chapter 4, verse 27, the man of Elohim says, "Leave her alone, because her life is vexed within her, and YHWH has hidden it from me and has not told me." There are seasons when the answer is withheld. There are moments when the heart is too vexed, too troubled, too defiled for the inquiry to bear fruit. The Urim and Thummim do not compel the Father. They wait upon him. And if the hands that cast them are not clean, if the heart that brings the petition is not girded, the inquiry returns empty. The text also warns against testing the spirit of YHWH, against agreeing together to put the Holy One to the test. The lead verse says it plainly. Gird up your hips now like a man. Come prepared. Come consecrated. Come as a priest who knows that his inheritance is not the answer he receives but the one who gives it. There is a tension here that must be named honestly. The value of the Urim and Thummim may lie not in the mechanical casting of lots but in the consecrated posture of the priest who casts them. If the heart is vexed or the hands are defiled, the inquiry is void. The text does not hide this. It states it. So the answer to the question stands. Yes. There is continuing value in the humble act of inquiring by Urim and Thummim for the restoration of heart. The day of small things is not despised. The small petition is heard. The age-lasting priesthood endures. But the one who inquires must gird up his hips, must come in the appointed season, must lift undefiled hands without anger and doubting, and must remember that YHWH himself is the portion of the Levite. The stones are the instrument. The Father is the inheritance. Inquire humbly. Inquire in the consecrated place. And trust that the day of small things is seen by the one who numbers every day and applies every heart unto wisdom. The lead verses drawn in this altar of reception session were Job chapter 40, verse 6-7, 1 Kings chapter 2, verse 20, Genesis chapter 36, verse 31, 1 Samuel chapter 12, verse 3, Luke chapter 23, verse 28, Enoch chapter 93, verse 12. 94 further verses were drawn in this session. This concludes today's interpretation at the altar of reception.